Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Karl, welcome to Consulting Leaders. Happy to have you.
Absolutely. I'm here. I'm glad to be here. Let's make this happen.
Let's jump straight into it. Tell us the story, Karl. What got you into consulting? How did your background in sales, I'm going to love this one, shape the way you work with clients today?
Yeah. So I think if you just say, what is a consultant? It's also a lot about what do you do if you're in sales? It's the same thing. You're solving problems. I think consultants, really good ones, they get in, they get their hands dirty, they roll up their sleeves, and they see a situation from a different angle. And by doing that, they provide insight. And if they're really good, they provide a movement forward. And I would even say accountability to support that action. Sales to me is very similar. If you have a friend that's ever convinced you to go to Vegas or do something stupid, he was in sales. Sales is like, hey, there's something I think you might want. I'm going to help you understand what it is. And as soon as you say, yes, let's go do this thing. And so it's a lot like consulting. It starts with the intent to make someone's life better, to solve a problem, to create a new reality. It's the same thing. It just happens to be in sales. You usually pass that off to someone else and they sell you that widget, they deliver that thing. And in consulting, if you're the consultant, you're all of a sudden you're that co-pilot, you're their new best friend, and you're getting in there and getting dirty, making things happen, and probably having the real conversation if you're, like I said, if you're good at what you do.
So what is the problem that you help people solve now?
Yeah.
What are you helping people achieve exactly? With that
So
of sales and consulting?
I would tell you this, so many companies, they started out getting revenue because of the people they knew. The founder was good at whatever it might be, building cabinets, doing tax accounting, creating change management, whatever it is, right? And so their network kind of started to feed that business. Or just you got lucky, you were a DJ in college, and next thing you know, you run a live event company because somebody asked you to produce their event because your buddy became the director of marketing at a company and said, oh, my friend Karl can do events. Can you do this event? And now you find yourself running an event company. There's a lot of accidental entrepreneurs. And so what I fix, or what I kind of improve or change the reality is there's companies that want to grow and they've never had a formal sales organization. They usually have like a bunch of individual contributors, or they'll say the sales guys are the inmates and they run the asylum, and things like that. They just don't have a formal sales organization. The way I kind of describe it is, you're driving home, you see some kids playing soccer in the schoolyard. And if they're really young, they're all around the ball like a magnet. And if they're a lot older, right, and we're watching television, you're looking at a World Cup team and they're passing the ball. They have plays. Everyone knows where they're supposed to be. In short, the problem I solve is many companies I work with have the kids on the playground or junior high, and they kind of know what they're doing, but they want to be a World Cup team and they don't know how to get there. So ultimately, my company comes in, and we kind of redesign what I call the revenue organization and build it, operate it, and then eventually pass it off to the client.
It's funny we'll have this conversation today, because after helping a lot of accidental consultants and B2B coaches, we realize that they get into this because they're really good. They get pulled in by a former employer, a friend, someone they know have expertise whatsoever. And they do a good work, a good job. They get the next gig and the next gig and the next gig purely on referral. We are 15 years down the line. Referrals are drying up for some reasons, right? Sometimes it happens. And they set up an acquisition channel and they figure out that they cannot close the door, and that there is a whole sales skill gap that they never even thought of. So, and I want to discuss, okay, before we go there, who is it that you help specifically? How? Like who do you typically help figuring that out and overcoming it?
Like most of the businesses we work with, they have some sort of solution sale. They need to understand a customer really well to create a solution. Certainly we work with, people that have more of a commodity or a SaaS company, something where it's a standard offering. But the ones that like really accelerate and then we can help a lot is when that organization needs to understand how to get to know a client or a potential customer prospect, to know that prospect, find their challenges, build rapport, build a relationship, bring a solution, and move it forward. Because that's not an overnight thing, right? And not many people can do that. A lot of people can take an order. They can certainly work with a referral. But if you're going to have a complex sale or some sort of solution sale, you need a lot of intentionality. So most of the companies we work with are some sort of like derivative of that, professional services of some sort, some unique offering. And usually they are anywhere from 10 to 50 million, and they usually have 3 to 10 people in their sales organization. There might be 1 or 2 marketers in there, and the owner or a founder or somebody that's like an early kind of executive team member kind of drew the short straw, and now they find themselves running the revenue organization or the sales organization, and they just can't quite formalize it and get to look like that World Cup team. They still look like maybe not the kids on a playground, but a junior high team playing soccer. Like they're winning, they're doing okay. But if they really want to have that breakthrough moment, they know they need to bring in some outside help. That's typically who we're working with.
All right, I'm gonna love this. Okay, so we're gonna get into branding and marketing in a moment, but even before that, how do you get those people to realize that this is the problem when they've gotten catapulted into whatever they are doing, and it has been working for many, many years, right? That's usually, at least that's the problem that we face. It's like,
Right.
oh, but we've always been doing like this, and it's always been working well. When you get into the nitty gritty, you understand that it's not
Yeah.
always working that well. But like this problem awareness stage where people go from, I just need more leads to, no, actually, I'm getting this. I just can't close them.
Right.
So how do you get them to realize, or do you go to people who have that realization?
Yeah,
Enough of
it's
a
a
question.
both, right?
Tell me.
And you mentioned problem aware. So you got your problem awares and your problem unawares. But in general, um, these traits are pretty easy to find, right? In what I'm talking about. You usually have a business that's been around for a little while, could be multi-generational. There's a new person running it, or they've been growing and they've stalled out and they're on their second or third VP of sales or sales director and it's not working. They've hired the salespeople from their competitors, thinking that that person knew the magic phrases that turned everything into gold, right? Or they're going to bring their book over. There's something like that. But what typically happens with the problem aware folks is they've realized that what got them to where they are now won't get them where they're going to go. And they've tried a lot of different things. They're kind of frustrated, but ultimately they're not after revenue first. They've gotten an awareness where they go, hey, if I want to say I want to go from 10 to 20 and I'm just going to will it to happen, they've moved from that. They've realized, hey, if I'm going to go from 10 to 20, I better like train like I'm training for a marathon. I better put a plan together. I better like start to exercise and change my diet and figure out all the little things that will enable me to get to the output that I want or the outcome that I want. So that's kind of like what happens in someone's mind typically when they start to become problem aware. What's worked before isn't working anymore and they keep hitting a wall. Those are relatively easy conversations because those people typically find me or my teammates, whether we're speaking, it's a podcast or a conference or a referral, or we're in a networking group and kind of people know what we solve. And so the problem presents itself. When the folks aren't really clear, the symptoms are there. So like it gets back to, how do I want to do business development? I'm very much someone that I want targeted, really good fits. I don't want a really wide net, right? I want to be very specific on who I approach. So under that model, I kind of go to where the fish are and have the conversations that are, I'd say, consultants are good at having, kind of grown up, the real conversation, the elephant in the room conversation, and having enough confidence and a little bit of swagger and also enough EQ to not tell that person across from you, hey, you're screwing up. But hey, I've worked with somebody like you. What you just told me sounds a lot like this client. May I share a quick idea? And they're like, yeah, what's the idea? And then you kind of create a little mini light bulb, and then another light bulb, and then another light bulb until most of the room, they can see it. Because that's usually the problem. There's just a lack of awareness of what's really going on. And they want somebody to tell them, but in a way that's not talking at them, it's talking with them.
Amen to that.
There you go. That's all you need to do.
So I think you mentioned conferences, referrals, people reaching out to your team. Can you tell us a bit more about what has worked for you marketing-wise to get those educated or problem-aware people to end up reaching out to you or having that conversation? Like what has worked for you, Karl?
Yeah, is it okay if I kind of tell you more like the whole like life cycle or ecosystem versus like one little piece? Is that all right?
Please.
Okay, let's do it. So the first thing I think, especially in consulting, is unless somebody has a ton of pain, you got to kind of understand that it's going to be a dance. There's going to be an education for a while. So I would just say if you're trying to grow your business and you're a consultant, or you have a solution sale, something where it's complex, it's not going to be one and done. It's not going to act like a referral. My roommate from college isn't going to call me and say, guess what? I was talking to my brother-in-law and he needs your help. I told him you're a great guy. Can you start Monday? Yeah, you get those bluebirds, right? But if you're going to scale, that's not going to cut it. So for me, I'm always thinking like, what is the next 6 or 12 months? Like, what am I going to do from the time I meet somebody, they have an aha moment, they have awareness, and they start to kind of want to get educated. And then they start to kind of use their imagination. Maybe I could work with you. And then they're kind of considering it. And then there might be either an external factor where they go, man, I should really talk to Karl. Or I've engaged them. I said, hey, I was just thinking about you. I was at a conference and this guy came up to me and he had a very similar challenge that you had. And this is how he solved it. And then I said this and he was like, oh my God, taking what you said and what I've done, that's it. And I just thought I'd share it with you, right? But what you're doing is you're trying to kind of create multiple chapters of a book that gets to the happy ending. It's not one chapter. It's not short format. It's just not. And so for me, I got to figure out who do I want to be in front of? What's important to them? And what can I do of value that gets their attention, right? Once I have their attention, what can I continue to do to add value and not ask for anything so that I eventually have the opportunity that when they do have an awareness or when they're just kind of in consideration, I'm either right there with them on a podcast or I've sent them something, or I'm like, hey, here's a slide deck from a conference I just did. Slide 5 aligns it, but I'm trying to cultivate a relationship over time. I'm not looking for the one and done. And so for me, to answer your question, they all fit, right? Where do my target audiences live? How do I meet them there, whether it's networking, or I might reach out to them directly on LinkedIn, or I might ask referrals in my network. Do you know anybody that looks like this? And then try to get some sort of conversation beachhead where we can get to know each other a little bit. And then from there, it's a matter of time. And I need resources like podcasts, interviews, thought leadership. I have 3 books. I've got things that I can send or provide that keeps me relevant. And as long as I'm really focused on them and what's in their life, and I'm taking these relevant things and peppering it in, not all the time, but for a general repeatable model, that's what works. So it then almost acts like a referral because they're down the pipeline or down the funnel so far that they're ready to have a real conversation. If you rush it, it usually doesn't work very well, in my opinion.
Masterclass.
There you
I
go.
was going to ask you, how do you get this educational piece solved? I was hoping that you would take me to content, and absolutely nailed it, because this is the way to do it. I'm just going to double down on one thing here, Karl, because I think this is so important. For the people listening to us, very high tickets B2B coaching and consulting firm owners. As soon as you get out of the referral loop, meaning you talk to colder leads, they can be warm depending on the channel, but they are colder than literally just being in pain so much that they ask someone they know and trust, hey, do you know someone who can help now? Which is where the referral comes from. Having this pieces of content that are going to tackle brand awareness, problem awareness, solution awareness, all whilst building authority. Hey, this is whilst I was presenting to XYZ conference that is very relevant to you, or this is a case study of someone that I've helped that looks very much like you. Building those pieces of content in your funnel so that you can leverage that as top, middle, and bottom of funnel is how you're going to get a lead move through the pipeline. And I couldn't agree more. It's not a, hey, overnight sign deal. It is a nurturing and relationship building with the prospect. I guess, talk to us about what you embody and what you're really good at. Sales.
Yeah.
What does sales motion look like for you? So you have the educational pieces of content, the relationship building, the lead acquisition channels. How do you move all these to a conversation, a sales conversation? SOW, letter of engagement, we rock and roll.
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer in plays and in playbooks. So playbook would have plays. And I like to think of a very simple funnel. Let's just say top, middle, bottom, just to keep it really simple. Well, what are my top plays? Top of the funnel plays. It's going to be about bringing someone into it. It's going to be about establishing credibility. It's going to be about showing up authentically. It's going to be about, finding ways for them to realize that I know something or I can provide something that'll help them. The middle is going to be much more about plays that are around co-creation, right? Hey, I have an idea I want to run by you, or like what I might call a trial balloon, right? Hey, we were talking about a week ago and I was driving on my trip and all of a sudden your company jumped in my mind and I said, why don't you guys try this, right? It's a trial balloon. I'm testing to see if what I'm putting out there is interesting. I'm putting it in a safe way that they know I'm brainstorming, trial balloon, co-creation, something kind of like blue sky. And then when people start to move toward wanting to talk about solution more, the plays might be like I just said, co-create, like, hey, why don't I send you a proposal? And oh, by the way, it's not going to be right. The one I send you, it's going to probably be 80% right. But can we agree that we use it as a way to talk together? Because you know a lot more about your business than I do, but I also know how to solve problems. And I have all these other clients I've worked with. So why don't we agree to find a time where we take a starting place and we start to talk? That would be a co-creation play, right? So I've got all these different plays along the funnel. So some of the really simple ones I'd share that kind of tee you up to the end is, if you are trying to meet new people, the simplest play is go to the networking events where they are, period. And be prepared, do your homework, who's on the board, because people are going to these association events to meet people, to learn things. They're already primed. They've self-selected saying, I want to meet somebody. Now, if you show up and you're just like, hey, what do I need to do to get you in a car today? Then that's not going to work. But if you're like, hey, yeah, I wanted to come here and you can find one of the board members to introduce you to some folks, now you're borrowing the brand credibility, the brand equity of that person, and it's rubbing off on you. Right? So that's a simple play. We all know there's networking in groups or association events for where our best customers hang out. So that's an easy play, right? So now let's say you've met somebody and there's nothing immediate, but it's gone really well. Well, what I love is sending a book play. And you don't go to Amazon and order my book and send them the book, right? You go to Amazon, you send it to yourself, you get the book and you write a note in it and you sign your name and you're like, hey, John, it was great meeting you at the conference. This is the book we were talking about. Thought you'd enjoy it. And you send it to the person. So now that's in their computer bag or sitting on their desk or in their car, right? That's another play. And then the next play, if I can kind of reach out with other things, I might be like, hey, I've thought of you on this car trip. I have this idea. Are you open to 15 minutes? Worst case, I'm going to share an idea and you're going to say it's garbage. Best case, maybe there's something here that inspired you. You open to getting on the call? I'm making it safe, low risk, big reward. And then eventually when they go, that was a great idea. How do we move forward? They're now telling me, how do I move forward? And that's where I can guide them forward. A lot of this is in my book, Iceberg Selling. Shameless plug, but it's a really good book. It's also on Audible, wherever books are sold. But the point is, I'm intentionally showing somebody I care about them, and I'm not asking for the order. I'm sharing ideas and value that hopefully activates their brain. Back to, why are we consultants? Why are we in sales? We see the world differently. We want to share our perspective so that the person who's laser focused on running their company or delivering widgets gets the aha, and we're associated with the aha, and they see us as the person that can guide them forward.
You can absolutely plug shamelessly when it's driven by value, Karl. So no problem at all. We'll put the link to the book in the description. Cool. I like that. Maybe something that is a bit, a tangent of all this. Consulting someone else listening to us right now who've never had to close a deal except for the referrals. Yeah. What's the number one thing that you'd recommend them do? Obviously, there is no silver bullet. That's one thing I've learned in business and especially in sales. But if it was, hey, this is probably either the easiest first step to take or something that will lead you to see a bit of results, and here is what to expect so that you know you're on the right path. What would you recommend?
I'll share a couple ones, and I'm actually going to go back. Like if you're a consultant or you're like, how do I get started? I would say number one, there are problems around us all the time, right? I don't care what you do for a living. You see problems every day. And if you train yourself to see problems, and I don't mean to be a negative person, okay? I just want to put that out there. But like, let's say you want to be an HR consultant and you're currently working full-time someplace. Well, you probably have friends that have other companies or work at other companies. And you probably just heard, Sally say, oh my God, we've been trying to hire for this position and I'm working 80 hours because they haven't backfilled it. And I'm so frustrated. I don't know why they can't just hire somebody. Boom, there's an opportunity, right? When you say, Sally, what's the chance if I could find somebody for you? And do you think they'd interview them? Well, yeah. Well, send me the job description. Let me see what I can do. I just solved her problem, right? So that's the easy, how do you get into doing this? Like, you find problems that you can solve, or you have enough confidence that you'll figure it out, right? Now, when it comes to actually the sales motion, the closing of the work, I'm not a hard, ask for the order, shut up and don't talk until they go, okay. I'm not that. That's not what I do. I'm more of a, let's get in this together. Let's solve it together. Let's make it safe. And I'm going to be very vulnerable. So my sales process might be like, let's say if somebody called and said, hey, I heard you on this podcast. I have that challenge. Can you help me solve it? How much would it cost? I would probably say, well, before we talk about all that, what's your problem? What do you want your reality to be like? And I would start to solve it for free. Well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? I was working with a client. I'm giving them aha so that they're heard and understood. And then I might even say at the end of the call, I know we never talked about a proposal yet or price. If you want to have another call, I'm happy to do that. But in general, if I were to do something like we said, it's probably between X and Y, and they'll probably say, oh, well, we should talk again. Right. And again, you're not trying to get people to sign on the bottom line immediately. You're trying to get people to say, I see a path forward. I see a new reality, and you're part of it. The other part of that kind of closing is, hey, would it be okay if I shared some ideas with you and know that this is a brainstorm? I might be completely wrong, but at the end, will you at least give me feedback? Most people want you to help them, and they'll say yes. And that's when you can be like, I've never worked with somebody in electrical manufacturing before, but when I worked with civil engineers and it feels a little bit like that, this is how we solve that problem. And, it was about 50 to 80K and it was about 6 months. Right? I'm helping them self-select. Is there anything that I said that you'd maybe change or that you're interested about? The other tactic, and it is a tactic, is get someone to witness your brand. Get an easy yes, even if it's for free. I don't say you should give your work away for free, but it might be like, why don't you come over? Why don't we meet for coffee in an hour and a half? I'll tell you how I would hire that person. And if you want to work with me more after that, great, but I'm happy to give you an hour and a half of my time. Like, box it in, make it easy. Low risk, high reward, so they can witness your brand. And then the rest kind of takes care of itself.
Preach.
There you go.
Relationship-based selling. At the end of the day, when you sell high 5, 6, 7 figures, even tickets, it's not like, okay, here is the payment link, and then you wait until the answer to the amount. It doesn't work like this.
That's exactly right.
Nothing to add. I like the approach. Talk to me about retention, Karl. So you You help a client solve basically their sales process, system, operations, so that they can close deals. Then what? You've done it. What's the continuity? What's the upsell?
Yeah.
What's the downsell? What's the maintenance? Is there any? How do you think about that?
Did you find my secret playbook? Because the thing I love talking about the most is retention and growth. It is the coolest thing because it's the easiest thing and it creates the most results. So I'll tell you what a typical engagement looks like for me. I walk into an organization, I want to go from X to Y. I go, look, I'm not going to just wave a magic wand and you're going to make another $10 million. But if you're willing to put real hard work into it, get intentional, build the system, build a team, really maximize that team, then I can tell you the outcome, the output of that work will be you will grow. And they usually say, yes, but how do I go another 10 or 15% over the next 12 months? And this is my favorite thing to say. I go, this is what I want you to do. I want you to create a list of all your customers from the last 3 years. And I want you to build a table. And I want you to show revenue from 3 years ago, 2 years ago, right now, this year. And then I want you to list out other columns of all the other offerings you have. And I want you to tell me with a green, yellow, or red highlight, is there room to grow this account? And by how much? Usually what happens, this is the coolest thing, is they end up with like, I don't know, some number, 20 green highlighted rows. And the money there is like 15 or 20 or 25% of their growth goal, just by closing more work with the people that they're already working with. Then they look at the yellows and there's another 5 or 10 or 20%. And then the reds, they're like, these are the customers we don't want, or they're coming off. I'm like, great. If you add up all of this, where are you? And they usually are somewhere either right on their revenue or where their revenue goal is or above it, right? There's so much revenue already in our funnel that I actually draw a funnel. At the bottom, I put a recycle arrow and I call it retention and growth. And when you highlight all these green ones, then my next one is build out a worksheet. Who all do you know there? What other organizations do they have? What other departments? I go to LinkedIn, I put in the same job title as the person I'm working with. Oh my God, there's another 8 people with the same job title, right? And it just is like you're mining for gold. And I don't mean it in like, how can I find money from them or fill up my wallet with them? It's like, there's so much opportunity at your current customers. It's bananas. And so for me, retention and growth is, that's the mechanic to find it. The way you do it is you actually have a really great sales organization with feedback loops and very clear job roles where hopefully who's ever in charge of managing that account has some success criteria and KPIs that surface opportunities. And so I usually run this type of red, yellow, or green, yellow, red once a quarter, twice a year. And the ones that are yellow and red, we kind of boil up to the surface and say, is there some problem here? We use it as an indicator to improve retention. We also use an indicator to get really intentional about growth. And it works amazing. And it's so easy because selling to somebody that already buys from you isn't selling. It's really, you're just solving more of their problems. I love that you asked me that question. It's my favorite thing.
I haven't read the book, Carl, but you know what they say. Apparently, in American and in English, it's great minds think alike.
Think alike
So,
there, right?
there we go.
There you go.
All right, I like your style, as everybody will have guessed by now. So I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball question at you.
Okay.
What's your number one challenge? What's
Yeah.
what's a nut that you're trying to crack that once you crack, you're going to take your business to the next level? What would that be for you?
I think about that a lot, and I think there's a trap entrepreneurs, leaders, consultants fall into, and the trap is like strength and weakness, right? Like your strength can be your weakness, right? Like for me, I don't necessarily need goals. I'm not a goal-driven guy. But if I don't have a clear roadmap of where I want to go, then I find myself frustrated. And I find myself trying to do a lot of different things. So for me, I think the trap is I just need to grow. I need to do all these things. And I start to do them all, or I get anxious that I can't do them all. Or worse yet, and a lot of you are going to feel me here, you feel like you're the only person that can do them. Right? Like, nobody else can do it as better than I can, right? They don't understand. And it's like, okay, even if that's true, then that's on you. That's on me. I need to figure out how other people can do what I can do, right? That's where I need to step out of that comfort zone and into that place. And it's painful. So for me, the thing that I get hung up on is if I don't have a clear plan or roadmap, then I get anxious. And when I get anxious, I start to become entrepreneurial. What's the easy thing? Should I try this? I should try that. And I'm trying all these things all the time instead of getting really intentional. What's already worked? What can I scale up? Who can do the work for me? How can I bring other people around? And so for me, I get caught in this visionary, I want to make these things happen. And then I don't have enough of a plan. And then I get anxious. And then I start to do all this stuff and I get too busy again that I can't work a plan. So my kind of strength, risk, weakness thing is I got to get more discipline for myself and bring more people around me that speak Karl, that want to go to see my vision, want to go where I want to go, and then get better at getting clear on how they can help me and create some feedback loops so they can learn to align with me and I can learn to relinquish and trust them and bring in people that are better at things than I am. Right. So that's kind of the place I wrestle with. I definitely make progress all the time, but it's like any bad habit. You get stressed, you pick up your bad habit. I get stressed, I pick up my bad habit. Then I got to undo it all.
Did you read my book, Karl? Is that why you're talking about this specifically? I'm kidding. I don't have a book, but it's so funny you mentioned this. I had a conversation yesterday with a friend, entrepreneur, super successful, who just made a decision impulsively, let's say, that I think is not going to help short-term the business. And I was like, did I make a mistake? Like, what am I missing here? And the thing I told him was like, look, the very reason you're that successful and that you're taking action right away, and that, once you've understood something, you go all in and that's why you're successful, is also the personality trait that led you to have this impulsive decision. So it's the cons. Every trait, every aspect, every quality comes with a downside, and that's the cons. But that's also why you've been successful so far, and you're going to be much more successful in the future because you just get shit done. Here we go, PG-18. Yep. So yeah, I like this. I like this challenge very much. That makes a lot of sense. And anybody listening to us right now, that's probably the takeaway as well. Like whatever is you consider as a weakness is the downside of a strength that you have. And it's just about obviously trying to compensate for it, but finding out about it and doubling down on your strengths. And this is how to be successful in consulting and learning to sell. Karl, this was an absolute masterclass. I like your vibe. If people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I've had a blast too. It's a great conversation and I love your energy. Company is Improving Sales Performance, improvingsalesperformance.com. I have a book called Iceberg Selling. You can find it icebergselling.com. It's on Amazon. I have 2 other books, Set Up to Win, which is really about how you build structure and frameworks of a high-performing sales organization, and another one called Sales and Marketing Alignment. They all kind of go together. But you can find me on LinkedIn pretty easily, Karl Becker, Improving Sales Performance. You'll find me. But and if you do, reach out. I connect with people, I answer questions, and always happy to do that.
We'll put all the links in the description. I can say one thing for sure, Karl, is that you've gained at least 1 new connection out of this interview. Me, I just added you. Thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders, Karl.
What a great time. Thank you. Love what you're doing.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.
How